Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. So last week I shared a story about the time that I was at work at a coffee shop during medical school and some random guy that I didn't know basically just came up to me out of the blue and started dropping some messages from spirit, from God, from source, from whatever you want to call it. And to me, it was pretty crazy. It was exactly what I needed to hear at the time. And one of the things that he told me was that I was meant to be a conduit, but I was leaking. And I was kind of like, well, yeah, obviously I'm a burnt out empath in the middle of medical school. I'm extremely anxious. I'm overwhelmed. I have terrible boundaries. So yeah, and I kind of just left it at that. But here recently, in just the last few weeks, I've been reflecting on that message a little bit more, and I think I've come to a whole different perspective of what it meant. And so I just wanted to talk about that this week. The idea is one of being permeable, of being porous. And the best example I'll use of that is the most classic example of the cell membrane. So if we remember in biology, we all learned that the cell membrane controls what moves in and out of the cell. But there's a whole new field of research and scientists that argue that the cell membrane is actually the brain of the entire cell, the brains of the entire operation, and plays a hugely important role that we didn't even realize. So they postulate through this theory called signal transduction that the cell membrane is able to basically read these signals coming from its environment. We don't quite know all of the ways how it does that yet, but it interprets the environment that's around it, and it changes its entire DNA, its entire function according to whatever's going on in the environment. And like I said, the genetics actually change, and so the behavior of the cell also changes. So the cell membrane is actually acting as that interface between the environment and the internal environment, the external environment and the internal environment. So if we take that idea and zoom out, we realize that our nervous system is doing the exact same thing as that cell membrane. So I talk a lot about quantum physics, and string theory postulates that our entire world is basically just a bunch of energy in motion, aka vibration. And our nervous system is the actual supercomputer translator that's able to take this environment, this energy, this information, and translate it into something that we can understand. And that is basically our entire reality. So the world around us, the emotions we feel, the things we see, these are all things that our nervous system has garnered from the universe and energy around us and let into our reality, essentially. So our nervous system is continually always translating and interpreting this energy for us. But here's where our big human brains come in, is we were never actually taught how to interpret this properly. And so our subconscious way of understanding, our default way of understanding as humans, is to create a story and attach a story to it. And so I'm going to read from The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, sort of just exemplify this a bit. So the best way to examine this input of energy is to look at an example. Let's say that you're in your 20s and your girlfriend or boyfriend breaks up with you. You get so totally depressed that you start staying home alone. Soon, because you don't have the energy to clean, everything ends up all over the floor. You can hardly get out of bed and you just sleep all the time. You must be eating because there are pizza boxes lying everywhere, but nothing seems to help. You just have no energy. Most of us have been there sometime in our life. We feel that we have no way out, and it seems like you will stay there forever. Then suddenly, one day, the phone rings. It's your girlfriend. That's right, the one who dumped you 3 months ago. She's crying and she says, "Oh my God, do you remember me? I hope you'll still talk to me. I feel so terrible. Leaving you is the worst mistake I ever made. I can see how important you are to me. Please take me back." Now, how are you doing? How long does it take you to get enough energy to jump out of bed, clean up your apartment, take a shower, and get some color back in your face? It's pretty much instantaneous. You've filled up your energy in the moment you hang up the phone. How does this happen? You were completely drained for months and months. You had no energy. Then out of nowhere, in a matter of seconds, there's so much energy, it blows you away. So what I get out of this, what he's saying here, is that we were never really taught to how to take a empowered approach towards using this energy. We are at the mercy of the external environment on how we feel. Like, it's obviously there. It has enough power to either keep us on the ground or let us jump up and feel happy, but we're not actually very conscious of how to use it. So being, I guess, consciously permeable, or taking the example from our nervous system or from the cell membrane, it does always know what it's doing, and it's important to be aware of these energy channels coming in. I know this sounds hippie stuff, but like, if we look back into the ancient systems of medicine, like in Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine, like we see the examples everywhere. In Chinese medicine, the one I'm most familiar with, we see the concept of meridians flowing throughout the body and qi flowing through these meridians. And the very root or the cause of disease is a blockage in this energy, and releasing that energy either through acupuncture or herbs or qigong, certain movements, meditations, this releases the energy and basically removes the idea of disease. In my mind, I think of it kind of like a stained glass window. You know, we're all composed of so many different colors and frequencies and beautiful shapes, with a light coming through us, if you want to call it source or soul or chi or prana or whatever you want to call it. But if those windows start to get blocked, or if they start to crack, that energy moving through it is going to change. It's either going to become really leaky or volatile, or it's going to just become blocked and stuck. And over time, if that crack spreads, or if that stain or that block spreads, you're going to eventually have a state where there's so much light, it's so reactive and everything is coming out, or there's just repression. And so in my own story, you know, going back to when that guy told me that I was feeling that I was leaky, yeah, sure, I had poor boundaries and all of that kind of stuff, but it goes beyond that. Beyond having poor boundaries, but actually being able to understand and take the energy that is coming through us at all the times and actually using it for something useful. So like I said, I was really leaky, I was really anxious, I was vibrating really high, I was in the middle of medical school, and I was suppressing a lot. Eventually this led to a state where I was so cracked that I couldn't really hold on to anything anymore, and it manifested in my body as a really horrific skin disease that lasted over a year and required me to do a whole lot of balancing, in my physical body, but also my emotional body and sort of my nervous system response, and realizing how I can tune in to these signals moving through me. So for me right now, really embodying this idea of being permeable, of being porous, and allowing and identifying energy that's moving through me, but then realizing that I have the ability to choose what to do with it. Do I try and control it? Do I let it cause a blockage in me? Do I let it move through me completely? Or do I harness it and use it for something useful? I'm curious how this concept resonated with you and how it showed up in your life. Or how it's showing up in your life. Let me know below, and I hope you have an amazing day. See you next time. Goodbye.